Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on?
I think that we have a quick kind of warm-up chant on the way of Save Vestas, Green Jobs Now! 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 And while we're talking about Vestas, we haven't had somebody from Vestas here, somebody who's worked at Vestas and whose brother's still working there. I'm very pleased to introduce, and I hope you all give a very warm welcome to Drew. I don't know what his surname is, but Drew from Vestas.
Thank you. Hello there, my name's Drew. I've come here today to speak about a little factory called St Cross on the Isle of Wight, otherwise known as Vestas. You may have heard about it before. It's the only blade manufacturer for wind turbines in Great Britain. It's currently in occupation and it closes at the end of this week. 625 jobs will be lost at the three plants of St Cross, Newport, Venture Quays, East Cowes and Merlin Quays in Southampton, just across the water. There's also a resin factory called Gurit opposite us, which is relying upon Vestas and is currently discussing its options, although they don't look good. Many other industries will suffer if Vestas ups and leaves, and many more jobs will go. The island's fragile economy will be plunged back 20 years into reliance upon the tourist trade with its low-paid seasonal jobs for 6 months of the year only. We want to keep these factories open, even expand them and build new ones, but not because of our love for Vestas. A few things about Vestas. Vestas bought out NEG Micron in 2003, and since that time, things just got worse for everybody as it tried to squeeze the last drop of work out of everyone, sapping them dry. Long hours in a highly stressful environment and fear of RSI, amongst other conditions, have given it a very high staff turnover. It's extremely anti-union, and all workers who have joined the unions in the past have been subsequently singled out and fired on various grounds. The nearest thing to a union was a consultation network imposed by European law, where supposedly elected representatives, but in reality handpicked by management, attended meetings where they had absolutely no input whatsoever, and were forced to simply absorb and relay management diktat to the rest of the workers. The workers have been given an offer of a pitiful redundancy payout for all their years of conscientious labour, and this has not even been confirmed in writing yet. This is classic of these multinationals, and the feelings of everyone on the Isle of Wight and now nationally are running high. Everybody threatened with unemployment for no reason other than one or another corporation's desire to move their capital around the world or find the cheapest sources of non-unionised labour or the newest set of government subsidies is by necessity obligated to take action, stand up with their brothers and sisters, or else fall by the wayside and be complicit in their exploitation. A change in mindset is organically and spontaneously taking place all over the world, from South Korea to Lindsay, from Paris to Chile. For too long have the corporations imposed their will on the common man and driven them down without care for their personal security and livelihood, their families and their dignity. There's a change that's happening rapidly, as we have seen. Now is the time, and achieving action is easier, far easier than we would ever have imagined. Let's just look at how the factory occupation began. At the end of April, the Vestas employees were gathered together and told that they would all be at risk of redundancy and that the factory was due to stop production at the end of July. Naturally, we were all shocked and upset at the news that came out of the blue. We'd been told we were the most profitable factory Vestas had. Everyone carried on working as normal. We felt powerless and confused. A few activists from Workers' Climate Action began leafleting the factory gates and talking to the workers. A public meeting was called. From this, a small group of workers formed a committee and began talking about occupying the factory to prevent closure. These workers began recruiting other workers to the plan, all the while trying to keep it secret from management. Managers heard about possible direct action and went to one of the sites to attempt to persuade workers to sign a document against any such action. Only 2 workers signed it. We heard of this and decided to strike quickly. Meeting up, 30 of us split into 3 groups and slipped into the factory unopposed. Working quickly, we secured our chosen area, the management and admin offices at the front of the building. We successfully outflanked the management without realising properly.
That's the way to do it.
We had an ex-union legal man outside who liaised with the police and managers, reminding them of the law and that this was a peaceful protest. We spent the night sleeping in 3-hour shifts. The next day, the crowd started to gather outside. Workers coming to work were turned away by the managers, but stayed to show us support. The crowd building by the hour. The managers and police had started to give us 2-hour deadlines to leave, telling us that trespass was a criminal offence. We knew it was a civil matter and that they would need a court injunction to remove us. We were threatened with private thugs storming the building and being, quote, heavy-handed with us. The factory manager, Paddy Weir, then threatened to go to a DIY store and buy bolt cutters to remove us. We laughed at him as the police told him he couldn't. By the end of the first day, things had calmed down as the police and managers had exhausted their threats with no effect on us. The police then promised not to storm the building after video footage of riot cops was sent by us to the media. The factory manager then appeared outside accompanied by security guards to talk to the media. He tipped his head and spoke into the 2 microphones in front of him in the quietest voice possible. Only the media could hear him. None of the workers, his workers, who were pressed around straining their ears, could hear a word. The workers in the crowd just booed and jeered as he scuttled back inside the factory. Food was running low by lunchtime on the second day. A big crowd had gathered outside demanding to be let through. The police and private security lines had delivered food. When they heard the police would not stop them, they rushed to us, throwing food up to the balcony. Day 3, a 7-foot fence was erected around the site to stop food coming in. The managers were not providing food at this point. We responded by hanging a banner out accusing the management of trying to starve us. This looked bad for them, as local and national media were outside with a sizable crowd, now in a semi-permanent camp. Then suddenly they announced they would take responsibility and provide food to us. When this food arrived, however, it turned out to be peanut butter sandwiches, snack bars and fizzy drinks in minimal quantity, snack food. On day 3, Bob Crow, the leader of the RMT union, arrived and gave a rousing speech. He even told us that the helicopter were on standby, ready to airdrop food to the occupiers. At 7:30 p.m, an aeroplane flew low and circled trailing a banner which read, "Save our jobs, save our community." The rally now numbered over 300, consisting of workers, wives and families, and local supporters. At the same time, an injunction was served on the occupiers. The RMT pledged to handle this in court with their legal team. A mass demonstration has been planned for the hearing Wednesday, July 29th, outside the Magistrates' Court in Newport between 9 and 10. That's tomorrow, and any support would be most welcome. On day 4, a march set off from Newport Town Centre. 600 people made their way up to the factory site in a show of support. Meanwhile, 2 workers travelled to London, giving a speech at the University College London to trade union officials, leading environmentalists and other groups. Sharing the platform was Chris Berg, Deputy Head of the PCS Union, Jonathan Neal, International Coordinator of the Campaign Against Climate Change, and Seamus Milne, freelance journalist and regular contributor to The Guardian. We raised almost £1,000.
We set off to join the picket lines, but together we cannot fail. We got stopped by police at the county line. They said, "Go home, boys, or you'll go into jail." And which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Well, it's hard to explain to a crying child why her daddy won't go back. So the family suffer, but it hurts me more to hear a scab say, "Sod you, Jack." Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on?